Professional wrestling is the one true sport. Other sports have their share of intense, dramatic moments, but nothing can compare with professional wrestling. Welcome to Wrestling History X, where three friends come together to talk about the stories behind the matches. I'm Matt.
I've got my fingernails pierced.
And I am your local neighborhood pizza guy.
Welcome to episode 306, WWF Monday Night RAW.
How raw will it be?
As raw as you can get, baby.
That's right.
Yeah.
Let's do this raw.
Fuck yeah.
Get it raw.
All right, Matt, keep it moving.
This is the 262nd episode of Raw, produced by WWF. It would take place on June 1st, 1998, from the Rosemont Horizon in Rosemont, Illinois, with an attendance of 16,157 people and a TV rating of 4.4.
Woo!
Just to compare, Nitro had a 3.7 the same evening.
And the show the night before had 7,000 less people.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So,
I mean, it's a smaller building.
but it's Chicago. They're like, it doesn't matter. So we'll make up for it. No issue. Yeah, that's wild. 17,000 people.
Yeah.
Hitting those numbers now.
But we are in Illinois, Rosemont, to be specific.
Yup.
So, Shane, did you do what you do?
Oh, brother. Did I?
Yeah,
Yes.
He definitely put in some work.
Here we are. Rosemont Horizon in Rosemont, Illinois, which is like 30-something miles away from Chicago. Sidebar, part of the inspiration behind what I did today was because last weekend I was stuck in a blizzard, and I started, with all the time I had in my little motel room in Kansas, I started thinking about places that I want to visit and stuff that I haven't got to do yet in all of my years. And at one point, I was almost stuck on the side of the road and, had to stay in my car overnight in a blizzard. So it got me thinking of, more stuff that I want to try that I haven't got to. And one of those, never been to Chicago. What do you do in Chicago? You have a fucking Chicago-style deep dish pizza. So I had some options. It was either I could try and do a fast dash to Chicago, grab myself a pizza. Not as easy to do because it's like 10 hours away. Get up to Tulsa and back, which is a whole lot easier because that's like an hour and a half away.
It's still a lot of your day.
Each way. And then it was, I've never made a fucking Chicago-style pizza. How difficult could it be? And it can be difficult. I went the easy route on it. I got some pre-made stuff to help me out. But I took a little trip to my, I'd say my neighborhood Trader Joe's, but the only Trader Joe's we have here in Oklahoma City. And I found some of their pre-made pizza dough that they have in their little cooler section. Grabbed a pack of that. I grabbed some uncured pepperoni. I grabbed some of their sweet Italian sausage links. Some onions, some peppers, a can of tomatoes with a little bit of basil in them.
San Marzano, right?
Yes.
That's a must, right?
Yes.
For the Chicago pizza, I think.
That's what the recipe that I looked up called for, specifically.
A lot of people say that that's,
That's what makes it.
Yeah.
I'm not disappointed. Never made it before, so I didn't know exactly what the fuck to expect from it. Luckily, Michael has a variety of cast iron skillets available here, so I took this pizza dough and stretched it around in the pan and cooked up my sausage with some onions and peppers and threw in some mushrooms in with it as well, some little baby bellows. And then I layered it a specific way because I guess that's the way that you're supposed to on deep dish pizza. The base of the crust had a shit ton of mozzarella cheese. Then I put my pepperoni. I put my mixture of some of the sausage with onions and mushrooms and peppers. And then I added some of the canned tomatoes and I crushed them by hand and added some more cheese on top of that. Put more of the sausage stuff on it, more cheese, more of the crushed tomatoes. And then I took a shit ton of Parmesan cheese and sprinkled it over the top of it. Slipped that sumbitch in the oven and baked it up for a good 25 minutes or so. I may have let it go a little too long because the Parmesan that was on top got an extra dark color to it. But because it was on top, it was easy to peel right off, so it would show off the bright tomato sauce and all the goodness on the inside of it. All in all, I made myself or I should say us, a Chicago-style deep dish pizza for the very first time.
And you did a pretty great job.
I enjoyed it quite a bit.
I'm pleasantly surprised with it.
You threw it together pretty quickly.
I felt like I took forever, so thank you.
No, it was pretty quick. Yeah,
in less time than it would have taken me to drive to Tulsa and back. We had a pizza.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, good flavors. Everything just kind of stood up for itself. We didn't have to add any special secret ingredients or anything like that. The only thing that would have taken over the edge was some garlic.
Love.
That's right. Some raw love.
But that was great.
I don't have a bite to take in front of me because I've sat here and eaten away at it, and all I have is this little edge of crust. So
We're going to make a crunch.
No, ain't going to make a crunch. But it was pretty fucking good.
It's Chicago deep dish. It's kind of like everybody says, lasagna. Similar. It's not lasagna, but it's kind of the consistency of everything.
Yeah. Curious how they had a garlic herb crust, or pizza dough, I should say. I almost got that one instead, but I figured I'm just going to go basic.
Traditional.
Yeah, but I'm wondering how much more flavor,
Because
as I sit here saying, the only
garlic,
thing missing is garlic.
And somehow I didn't have garlic powder, which is insane.
And somehow I didn't bring garlic when I brought everything else.
What kind of person are you?
I get a monster that used it all.
Yeah, vampire, huh?
Are we big fans of Chicago style?
I enjoy it. I'd like to.
On the normal?
I probably only ever had it once.
I've never had it before, so I have no other comparison for it. I really wanted to try it, and I don't know when I'm going to get to Chicago next. But I have a feeling if I go somewhere, and granted I've had a taste of a slice of a pepperoni Chicago style from Savastano's in Tulsa, so I guess I have had a taste of it, but not actually from Chicago.
Gotcha. Because, I think the only time I've ever had a Chicago style, we used to have a place here in Oklahoma City called Humble Pie. They changed their name to Heat. Yeah. They were good, but it's just a lot of, like we said, lasagna. So it's just a lot of dough and stuff like that. I think I'm definitely more of a fan of the Detroit style pizza.
Detroit style's good.
Yeah, it's one of those things too where it's like, well, I haven't had either of them in their place of origin.
Yes.
But the Detroit style is less cumbersome on your I imagine that was, you're only eating like one slice of this.
Yeah.
It's heavy.
Like if you're eating like multiple pieces of Chicago style pizza, you're a madman.
Yep. Yeah. No, I'm definitely gonna have to get up there and try an authentic slice because I want to see what the real deal's about. Plus, it's always better when somebody else cooks. So
yeah, absolutely. I went there and went to Chicago once and still didn't try it up there. I don't know why.
Gotta get an authentic slice of Chicago style. I gotta get my authentic Chicago dog, my Italian beef.
I think you can skip the dog.
No.
Maybe it's better somehow up there, but anytime I had a Chicago dog, I'm like, why? What are we doing here?
Food truck, man.
Well, something that would happen right around the same time as this episode of Raw. Actually, the very same night.
Woohoo!
A Shane favorite.
Yup.
The Challenge would premiere.
Yes,
now,
yes.
It wouldn't premiere under the name The Challenge, though.
No, it would be, what was it? Road Rules All-Stars.
Correct.
Yeah. And then it would eventually become the Real World Road Rules Challenge.
I remember
for the first 19 years of the show.
Wow, I remember Real World Road Rules Challenge a little bit, but I never really watched it.
Yeah, they just had season 40's finale on Wednesday this week, so it's been around for 40 seasons.
But how were they getting the people if
it started off, it was Real World Road Rules.
Yeah, but those aren't shows anymore.
They're not shows anymore, but they only stopped being those shows within like the last 15 years or so. But then they've also brought in other MTV shows. Are You the One? They brought in just special seasons of the challenge, which were called Fresh Meat, where they brought in would have been cast people from reality shows that were just picked specifically for the challenge. And some of them have gone on to be some of their biggest
so it's like just
TV characters ever.
Own thing.
Yes. I grew up with one of the people that's on it. She started off on Real World. I graduated with her sister, worked with her and her brother, or older brother, I should say, at Runza in Nebraska. But Tina, she started out on Road Rules South Pacific, I think is what it was.
There was a season of Real World as late as 2019.
Yes,
on Facebook Watch.
They tried to bring it back for Facebook, and it was just
bad.
Fame hungry people on there that it wasn't the same anymore.
That show went way downhill about Vegas.
Which Vegas? There's two Vegases. There's two Vegases, 2 New Yorks, 2 New Orleans.
It was the one where they all jumped into the hot tub. And they worked at the club.
That's probably the first one.
I don't know. I remember watching the Hawaii one.
Yeah.
The Hawaii one was good.
Yeah, I remember that
Austin
one.
was great.
I feel
like that was one of the later.
I think it was the year right after Hawaii was the first Vegas one. And I think that's the last one that I watched.
But that had the most reality TV shenanigans to it. Because that's when they started doing... They had the Real Rules team come in and do a challenge against or pull a prank on the Real World people as part of the Road Rules challenges that they were doing at the time.
They were producing it more.
Yes.
Instead of just editing it together in post.
Yeah, the Challenge All-Star, or the Road Rules All-Stars started off with, the Road Rules show had been on for a while, and they decided to take some of the people from Real World previous seasons and have them go through doing what the Road Rules people were doing. And I think they had a face-to-face with one of the current season of Road Rules at the time where they did a challenge between the two teams. But
so what are the challenges? I never watched
it. Started off like Big Brother backyard games type things where, you'd lawn darts and, run down this beach with this sheet of cookies and, little things that you would do, as a teenager with friends in the backyard. And now it's gone to a more Survivor... Amazing race. Let's scale down the side of this mountain. Let's go through the Arctic. Yeah, they do all kinds of crazy shit now.
Huh.
Instead of just wear these flippers and run down the beach to see who can get to this sign the fastest.
Vegas was the 12th season
in
2002, 2003. And I think that's the year that the debauchery started more up, and it never really was.
They became more of the reality TV of today than what they started out as, where it was more of a social experiment. Yeah, I was a huge Real World Road Rules fan. I auditioned for Real World Miami. I went last year to Challenge Mania in Plano, Texas, to see a bunch of the former cast members, and that was the first time I had seen Tina in a good 10 years or so.
But nowadays, and for the challenge, they do, since there's no Real World Road Rules, they get people from other Viacom reality shows like Are You the One and Big Brother and
Survivor,
Love Island.
They've done a European invasion where they brought in a bunch of people from a bunch of European reality shows.
I mean, they even did a world championship a few years ago where they literally had a challenge in London, Australia, South America, and
Argentina.
Yeah, Argentina. I couldn't remember exactly where, but
yep.
I mean, it's a fun show, and the thing is, the crazy thing is, even now the seasons kind of build on each other because all these people have played in these challenges so many times that there's friendships and relationships and things that have built over time that
the seasons, they spin through different themes. You've got Battle of the Exes, Battle of the Sexes. You've got trilogy ones where it's like a Spy Wars type thing.
So they're doing a good job of building on it to where it keeps the people that like the show interested.
Yeah.
It's not
when it started to dip down and people were getting sick of the new people that they didn't know anything about, they rolled into Challenge All-Stars now, which is on Paramount, and they brought in the OGs that people were missing from 15, 20 years ago that hadn't played in so long, and were the ones that inspired everything that we're watching today. They've all come back and kind of had a resurgence in it. A lot of them returned for the 40th season, to where they did different eras of era 1, 2, 3, and 4, where, you know, it was anybody who was in seasons 1 through 9, you're part of era 1, seasons 10 through 19, so on and so forth.
So it's more lore than WWF.
I mean, it's I mean, speaking of WWF, we actually have a superstar that actually started off in a real world and then into a challenge in The Miz.
Yeah. I remember
back
watching
to New York, season 10.
Was that New York or was that New Orleans?
Yeah, it was back to New York.
Okay. Yeah, I do remember.
That's where he actually premiered his The Miz character.
Yeah, I remember watching that season.
It's funny
watching. I remember then years later finding out that he actually was wrestling in the WWF, and I was like, oh, that's the guy from. You know, because I wasn't watching at the time when he came up in the WWF.
He tried to talk like The Rock, but he had this weird, like, he put a southern twang to it, but he himself was from, like, Ohio, so...
Yeah, he's from Cleveland.
Yeah, I do remember him doing his rock, you know, that was his guy.
At least he's better than Mr. Spectacular.
Yes. I'm glad he's never made a full crossover into the challenge world. Yeah, it's always possible, because he has the Big Brother connection, so...
That's true.
But yeah... Challenge, it's great. I'm thankful that it's been around for 40 seasons. I'm hopeful that it sticks around for more, but who knows?
I mean, I watched I've watched the last few seasons. It's fun entertainment.
Yeah, much like wrestling, it keeps me tied to my youth.
Well, speaking of wrestling, let's talk some Raw. We get the Attitude opening, followed by still photos from last night's pay-per-view with Vince McMahon narration. Last night's shallow victory by Stone Cold Steve Austin was overshadowed by concern for the condition of WWF owner Vince McMahon. Under the specter of The Undertaker, who stood guard at ringside, Stone Cold and Dude Love fought a brutal but yet a fair match. However, in one sheer act of incompetence, Dude Love nearly decapitated Vince McMahon. And as the valiant McMahon laid motionless, Austin covered Dude Love. And in one of the most selfish, heartless, and cruel acts in history,
in all of history,
took McMahon's very own lifeless hand and counted himself to victory. Steve Austin won the match, but will forever be stained with the label of being the most undeserving and cold-hearted WWF champion of all time.
So great that he's the one that did the voiceover.
Like, it would be funny if like someone else had done it, but then he's the one delivering it, and it makes it just adds another level to it.
Yeah,
right.
An extra layer of
pettiness.
Pettiness, and just the ultimate villain.
Raw opening package before Pyro and Jim Ross welcomes everyone to the show, joined by Michael Cole.
Yep, there's 14,000 signs.
Dude Love is in the ring, talking about how his teeth were broken twice, that Stone Cold kicked his ass, and he wants to apologize, followed by calling out Vince, who makes his way to the ring, where Foley realizes that he let McMahon down, and due to the injuries he sustained, the Dudester's gonna be out for a little while. But when he returns, he expects to be the #1 contender. And Vince looks disgusted and calls Dude Love a miserable failure, repeatedly asking if Dude Love wants him to accept his apology. Then Foley needs to get on his knees. And the Dudester's a bit baffled by this, only for McMahon to start screaming at him. Foley says he will not allow Vince to embarrass him on TV as his kids are watching. And Vince responds that he does not have to worry about that, as Dude Love is already an embarrassment to everybody. Only for Foley to counter that McMahon has underestimated Stone Cold, and that he has a confession. It felt pretty damn good when he wrapped that chair around Vince's skull. So McMahon just challenges him to do it again, pointing at the chair that Foley was sitting in. And Vince is screaming at Dude Love to make his day, but that if he does, the college education, the new house, the fund for his parents. All of it will be gone. The Dudester then sits in the chair instead as McMahon continues to taunt him, even saying that he's decided to fire him as he has no need for his services, leaving Foley looking very sad. And Dude Love's music begins to play, with Vince doing a little dance in front of Foley before leaving to the back.
The dance game between last night and tonight.
Yes. It's strong.
Absolutely.
Our commentators run down the matches we will see tonight, followed by seeing the Legion of Doom hanging outside, getting ready for their match as we go to commercial. And we come back to Kevin Kelly interviewing Darren Drozdov.
He's gonna.
Who immediately pukes on Kevin.
It's kind of more of a spit.
Yeah.
He's choking.
Before asking about his experience with street fights. And Droz says he's ready for anything, followed by the Road Warriors joining in to taunt their opponents as Darren pukes on Kelly once more. Before Sonny yells, "What a rush!"
He's got it on his shoes.
As one of the disciples of Apocalypse rides up on their motorcycle.
Pretty cool.
So we go to our first match. Legion of Doom 2000 of Road Warrior Hawk, Road Warrior Animal, and Darren Drozdov with Sonny versus the Disciples of Apocalypse of 8-Ball, Chainz, and Skull in a Chicago street fight. And we're like literally outside in the loading dock.
Yeah. So it's basically just a
Ramp.
an alleyway. It looks like an alleyway, but it's the ramp that goes down. So it's just concrete. And up in the horizon, it's just there's like 7 cop cars with the lights on. Yeah. It's a very good visual.
And LOD goes to attack, only for the other disciples to attack from behind. And the brawl is on. Using trash cans, running each other into walls and equipment containers, choking each other. Metal poles, chains, and chairs are all used, with no one really ever gaining an advantage.
No, it's just
draws and smalls.
It's just chaos.
Everyone begins to get laid out, with draws and chains continuing to work each other over. When the Undertaker, I guess, was just out for a Sunday stroll.
He's in there in the arena.
Yeah.
He's making his way down the ramp, and he just beats down both men before entering the arena, leaving us with a no contest as we head to commercial.
Yeah, Taker walking up in his sweats and
his streetwear.
Yeah.
Which is just like black sweats and a baggy black t-shirt tucked into his sweats. I mean, he's since he's been a face and the more human of between him and his evil brother, seeing him not move so slowly and talk like a normal guy, I'm sure he's having a good time with it.
We come back to the dead man's looking for McMahon, assaulting people to tell them where he is. Before we go to the ring, in our second match, Papa Chulo versus Val Venis.
I love, and haven't seen it in so long, but the Titantron entrance for Val Venis, where it's just like a flower blooming and like a screw like from a machine shop. Like it's just it's so good.
The screw going down.
Double entendres.
Yeah.
Just completely.
It's just it's so well done.
Oh, lady.
It's so stupid.
Well, I guess it's good that he's on
Raw. Yep.
The last time we saw Chulo, it was as Aguila at WrestleMania 14, episode 296.
So that's our... Can't think of his damn name that he's going to be next, but...
S.A. Rios.
S.A. Rios. There we go.
Hello, ladies. Followed by Val talking about his body. Making a gun that doesn't shoot blanks reference. Before attacking Papa and hammering away on him.
Don't forget him just ripping Rick Rude off with his little waist.
Venis chokes with his towel and hits a double underhook suplex, followed by going to a camel clutch momentarily.
With a bit of a grind.
And Val keeps up the attack with a snap suplex and tosses Chulo into a corner for a big boot and a clothesline, before whipping him to the ropes, where Chulo ducks a pair of elbows and leaps off with a crossbody, only for Venis to catch him and power slam Papa down.
And Papi Chulo looks like just a Mexican goth. Instead of like, it's like, all right, I guess this is a thing we can do.
Chulo begins to fire back with forearms, and he ducks a big boot, but he's taken down by a clothesline, only to avoid an elbow drop and goes for a hurricanrana, which Val just tosses him off, so Papi nails a spinning heel kick. Now, after multiple drop kicks by Chulo, he goes for a crucifix, but Venis is too strong and counters it into a Samoan drop, followed by heading up top to deliver the money shot for the pin and the win.
And the money shot is when you grind your hips while standing on the top rope and then just do a frog splash.
It's not even a frog splash.
No, it's not even a frog splash. It's just a big splash.
Yeah. And I'd say just let him do a neck breaker.
Undertaker's headed to the ring as we head to commercial. And we come back to the dead man saying he's pissed off at McMahon, delving into their past where Vince was known for giving people an opportunity, even if they were a little bit different. Giving Taker the chance to be himself, but that's where all the giving stopped and the taking began. Undertaker continues that he soon became the slayer of the dragons, as McMahon knew he would be loyal, so he had to face every giant, beating them all, making Vince's kingdom safe for all of his hand-picked champions. The dead man says that McMahon didn't want someone like Taker to be champ, so his reigns were short, but he stayed loyal despite making less money, as he thought his opportunities would come. And Undertaker goes on that he's not happy about having to face his brother, about his personal life being aired out in public, that it's all for ratings. But the dead man never lost his smile, only for Austin to rise to the top while he dealt with family business. And Taker claims that he has nothing against Stone Cold, who fought him like a man, but he has had enough of his family thrown in his face and wants what's rightfully his, a shot at the WWF title. Undertaker finishes that he's done enough talking and tells Vince to get his pencil neck geek ass out here and face the Reaper.
You can call Vince a lot of things. Pencil neck is probably not one of them.
No.
I was like, he's done talking. So McMahon makes his way out and states that he will give the answer that the dead man's looking for. But he has something to say first. That after all he has done for Taker, Vince has been chokeslammed damn near to hell last week, and then hovered over like a giant vulture the night before. McMahon continues that he's appreciative for what the Undertaker has done, only to turn it around, asking, what has the dead man done for Vince lately? Before wanting to know if his mom really was a whore.
Jesus.
McMahon then says if Taker wants to be the number one contender, he can be, if he wins his match tonight. Against Kane.
I mean, Vince McMahon is chewing all of the scenery. He's on fire.
And of course this leaves Undertaker not very happy as we head to commercial. JVC Kaboom of the Week. As the dead man chokeslams Pat Patterson through the announce table and over the edge. Before we then go to a photo shoot with Sable when DX interrupts with Super Soakers.
Oh my god.
Getting her and the photographer all wet.
Hey now, wait a minute.
But then she just magically leaves and the photographer gives the entire ad.
Also, she was like just wearing like some kind of like leather or pleather thing, so they weren't going full wet t-shirt.
No.
It was just the idea in your mind.
I thought Sable wasn't going to be around anymore.
Exactly.
They already shot the commercial.
I guess they can still use it.
Yeah, the that JVC Kaboom boombox really brought me back. I was like, I remember seeing that thing.
Yeah.
I didn't have one.
Kaboom it!
But it looks so 1998. You wouldn't believe it.
So we go to our third match. Steve Blackman versus Marvelous Marc Mero in a qualifying match for the King of the Ring.
We're getting it started up.
And the crowd's chanting for Sable when Marc takes the mic to tell him that she is barefoot in the kitchen, where she belongs, before introducing someone else who's black and beautiful. Jacqueline.
I know it's just funny that he has to say that she's black. It's like, why did you say that part?
Yeah.
But it's funny. I really got a kick out of it. Caught me off guard.
We haven't seen Jackie since WCW Monday Night Nitro, October 27th, 1997, episode 280.
And I was surprised by this. I know it's not an ECW crowd, but they're really not that different. A wrestling crowd's a wrestling crowd, especially in like 98. But I would have expected Jackie to get some boos for replacing Sable. But you don't really get many of them, and I think that they doctored it, because I can't imagine the cheers that Sable gets, and then he brings this lady out and she doesn't get booed.
I don't know. I mean,
I like Jackie.
Being one who watched the product back then, they were starting to get to that. I mean, we're in the Attitude Era now, so anybody who comes out there that already has an attitude, they're going to cheer for it just because.
Or just anybody with.
You're here now. You're where you belong, because she didn't quite fit in WCW crowd.
But also, it's like, well, are they going to boo anybody with monster tits?
No.
Probably not.
Not.
So the match gets going with Blackman going for some kicks to start that don't land. So he takes Mero to a corner where Marc hits a cheap shot when the ref makes them break. Steve ducks a clothesline, delivers several kicks, including one right under the chin that sends Mero to the floor to regroup. Marc makes his way back in to swing away, only for Blackman to avoid and nail a running back elbow and a facebuster. Mero's sent to a corner where he goes to float over the charging Steve, but he gets caught and dropped face first onto the mat, followed by a side slam and a snap suplex. Blackman continues with a bicycle kick that knocks Marc down, and he makes the cover for the pin. And no, Jackie puts Mero's boot on the ropes.
I mean, he did a lot more for him than Sable did.
That's right. The ref and Steve begin to argue with her, allowing Marc to deliver a low blow and a Samoan drop, which Cole calls the TKO, which thankfully JR called him out on.
Yep.
Mero then goes up top to nail a shooting star press.
My God.
For the pin. And the win.
Yeah, they basically what a maneuver the shooting star press, because they're like, I don't know what the hell that was. But he looks incredible. It's crazy that Marc can do it.
We haven't seen that in years.
I mean, it was fun.
And I kind of thought the same thing when he did it too. Like, I haven't seen this since Johnny.
I mean, yeah, it looked great.
He did it when he first showed up as Mero.
Okay.
But then
the Wild Man.
When he, as the Wild Man, but like when he came back as Marvelous in the Boxer, he started doing the TKO. But I think basically he realized that it wasn't getting over because of the Diamond Cutter over in WCW. So I think he's like,
also,
maybe we should go back to
shooting star press, pretty dangerous. You can't just be doing that every night.
Yeah.
But yeah, this one looks damn near perfect.
So Ross then sends it to footage from the Man Cow radio show where they were interviewing Stone Cold Steve Austin. It was a morning zoo radio show in Chicago.
It's just they named so poorly.
I mean, Bubba the Love Sponge.
Yeah.
Oh, is it?
Man Cow? No, it's just like.
Yeah, I know. It's just a Bubba the Love Sponge is at least a funny name. Man cows.
Is it though?
I mean, I don't know. It's funny. it's silly.
And they're all, jibber jabbering away when Vince calls in. So Stone Cold starts to taunting, wanting to start a National Punch Your Boss Day.
Yeah, he looks like he's having fun doing this little press segment.
Yeah, I mean,
he's also like the biggest star in all of wrestling right now after putting in plenty of time, and he's, I imagine, not bitter yet. We
then get a package where we see a man walking a street. sitting in a subway train as the narration says, light, dark, I am both.
Raven-esque even.
The man's now kissing a woman as narration continues that I am everything, I am nothing. We then see the man in various locations as we're told, I am everywhere, I am invisible, I am in your head and won't let go. The man begins to beat up another gentleman on a sidewalk. His narration claims, you yearn for my approval, my forgiveness, my glance. I look away, I light, but you will never see me. And then the word Edge flashes on the screen.
You think you know me?
Yeah, in my memory, I was kind of surprised by this because I know Edge and Christian as, the vampire buddies. So seeing Edge get a solo package that's not vampire-esque.
It all started with Edge.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yep.
I didn't either,
Oh, cool.
to be honest.
All right.
Yep.
So we go to our fourth match. DX of Triple H and the New Age Outlaws of Road Dogg Jesse James, Badass Billy Gunn with X-Pac and Chyna versus the Nation of Domination of D'Lo Brown, Owen Hart, and The Rock with Kama Mustafa and Mark Henry in an elimination tag match. So a Survivor style match here for us.
Hell yeah.
And it's Warzone time. So Jerry the King Lawler has replaced Michael Cole on commentary.
My thought was, where's the Vader mask? It's time! It's time! It's Warzone time!
While DX does their thing for the thousands in attendance and millions watching around the world. When Sergeant Slaughter comes out and tells all the outside participants to take a hike. When Hunter then clotheslines D'Lo to start the match off, followed by stomps in a corner. And Brown fires back with strikes and looks to hit a corner splash. But Triple H charges out with a running knee before bringing Dogg in for a shimmy knee drop. And a reversed whip allows D'Lo to nail a spine buster for a 2 count, only for a rake of the eyes to allow DX to regain control, with Gunn coming in with strikes and a pile driver for the pin and elimination of Brown.
Thanks for coming, D'Lo.
Yep. So long.
Rock jumps in the ring to take it to Badass, but another rake of the eyes again changes the momentum, bringing James back in for wrist and hammer locks, until Rocky clotheslines and Rock bottoms Road Dogg for the pin and elimination.
Thanks for coming, Jesse James.
And I want to say that was the first time we've heard
The Rock Bottom
Rock
name.
Bottom.
Yeah, I was curious to ask.
They call it a Uranagi in other places.
Yeah. I did catch that.
Yeah. I also want to point out, too, that I believe, at least in my memory anyways, this is the first time I can remember seeing Hunter spit water, but I might be wrong.
Oh, did I miss that completely?
Yeah.
I think it's just so synonymous with him that you don't think about it when it happens.
Yep.
I love every time just because of how much buffer we've had jammed down our throats, when he just mocks him, I just think about how much Buffer hates that, and it makes me happy. Because Michael Buffer is the most overrated dude ever.
Yep.
Gunn's back in, hammering away on Rocky, before a body slam and an elbow drop, bringing in Hunter for strikes, including popping The Rock right in the jaw. Badass back in, who goes to whip Rocky, where a blind tag to Owen's made, where he heads to the top for a missile dropkick to Gunn. Hart then telegraphs a back body drop, so Billy delivers a DDT, followed by going for a corner splash, only for Owen to move, causing Badass to hit his head on the post. Hart then hits a spinning heel kick to make the pin and elimination of Gunn, which brings Chyna marching back to ringside as we head to commercial.
Is this also the first time that his trunk say Mr. Hass?
He said him last night.
Yeah,
Really? I just vividly remember noticing it tonight and being like, oh yeah.
And we come back to The Rock making a cover for a near fall, as the nation's teaming up to work over Triple H with neck breakers and elbow drops, when a telegraphed back body drop by Owen allows Hunter to go for a sunset flip, but the ref's forcing Rocky back to his corner, so only a 2 count.
Yeah, we get that visual pin. Did you guys see the Chia Maivia sign? It was a drawing of The Rock as a chia pet.
Nice.
It was silly. It's no Goldberg fucking sucks, but it's still fun. I admire the creativity.
Hart with a gut-wrench suplex. Rock's just beating down Triple H in a corner when he begins to fire up with strikes, only to run into a back elbow, allowing Rocky to nail a not-so-electrifying elbow drop for a near fall. Hunter connects with a knee off a backdrop attempt, but The Rock catches Triple H going for a clothesline into a Uranagi, only to be blocked and dropped with a pedigree for the pin and elimination.
Whoa.
As Owen was being distracted by Chyna, so he didn't run in to break it up.
Get your pin back.
Tisk, tisk.
Hart then jumps in the ring to trade strikes with Hunter when Ken Shamrock would jump out of the crowd and into the ring to deliver right hands and a belly-to-belly suplex to Owen. And so the bell rings as Triple H is disqualified because of the interference. Post-match, the rest of the nation returned to attack Ken, beating him down, when Dan Severn would run in to make the save, clearing the ring of the entire nation. And the two fighters stare each other down until Severn leaves to the back, when Hunter would get back into the ring to let Shamrock know he didn't appreciate the interference, and even hitting him, only for Ken to tackle Triple H, and the brawl is on, forcing officials to run back down to break it up.
So now I'm wondering, was Ken Shamrock injured by Owen then?
I think that's what it was, yeah. Okay. So we see Undertaker sitting in the back as we go to commercial, but we come back to Vince McMahon being seen in Kane's locker room, where it seems he is making a deal.
They shake hands. A handshake deal, maybe.
Now in the ring, Tennessee Lee introduces JEFF, JARRETT. Ain't he great?
He's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. He then talks about how no one knows how to treat a Southern gentleman. So tonight he's going to give everyone a little justice.
Southern justice.
Southern justice. And
which is?
Former Godwins make their way out, all cleaned up and wearing suits.
Godwins in suits called Southern Justice. So funny.
We haven't seen them since WrestleMania 14, episode 296.
And this is the coat of paint they decided to put on.
I totally forgot about this coat of paint on them, too.
It's probably because it doesn't last very long.
Nope.
So we go to our fifth match. Double J, Jeff Jarrett, with Tennessee Lee and Southern Justice of Dennis Knight and Marc Cantebury, versus Faarooq in a King of the Ring qualifying match. And Double J attacks as Faarooq hits the ring, only for the militant to reverse a whip, catching Jarrett trying to go up and over to drop him on the turnbuckle, followed by right hands and a power slam.
The crowd is head pilled. They're just, as soon as this starts up, they just start chanting for head.
Faarooq misses a falling headbutt, so Double J goes back on the offensive, but the militant catches a kick and clotheslines Jarrett down, followed by several strikes and chokes. And Faarooq charges into a back elbow and a boot, allowing Double J to deliver a clothesline and a body slam, only to then miss an elbow drop. The militant responds with a body slam and a leg drop for a 2 count, before hitting a vertical suplex for a near fall. And Faarooq keeps up the attack, hammering away on Jarrett when he heads up top. But Double J stumbles his way into the ropes, causing the militant to crouch himself.
I don't want to see Ron Simmons jump off the top.
Jarrett then takes advantage with some ground and pound, only to have his whip reversed and run right into a spine buster. Southern Justice then jumps on the apron to distract the ref, while Tennessee Lee hands Double J his belt, allowing him to whip Faarooq across the back and making a cover for the pin and the win to advance to the King of the Ring tournament.
Well, yeah, I mean...
Damn.
Sorry. Yeah, yes. Sorry, Ron. But them's the breaks.
We then go to a video package about WWF being at the forefront of charitable and humanitarian causes worldwide, where we see Vince and Linda McMahon at different banquets, all while narration pats themselves on the back for giving back to such causes as the Boys and Girls Club and the Special Olympics. And as the WWF grows, so too will its tradition of compassion and giving.
Yes. Great for them to show this on an episode where Vince McMahon starts it off by firing somebody for not doing the dirty work that he wanted him to do for him. It's perfect.
That's Mr. McMahon, not Vincent Kennedy.
Sorry, McMahon. Mr. Vince McMahon.
So we go to our 6th match. Taka Michinoku with Bradshaw versus Sho Funaki with Kaientai of Dick Togo and Men's Teioh and Yamaguchi-San for the WWF Light Heavyweight Championship. Michinoku gets in the ring where Sho looks to attack, but Taka sidesteps and tosses Funaki out to the floor, followed by with a springboard plancha. Now back in the ring, Sho with multiple hip attacks, but he misses a charge into a corner, with Taka attempting a tornado DDT, only for Funaki to block with an inverted atomic drop. Michinoku then flips out of a suplex and delivers a hurricanrana, calls for his finisher, when Togo would jump on the apron, only to get knocked down, along with Sho being tossed back out to the floor.
I think Togo's still jumping on aprons in this year of our Lord 2025.
Taka then nails an Asai moonsault from the second rope, when the camera catches Al Snow and Head at ringside in Japanese garb, taking pictures of the international media.
I mean, taking photos of Japanese photographers, a gag that's been overdone, but it always kind of works.
Yep.
Back inside, Michinoku hammers away on his opponent, whipping him from corner to corner, before going for a missile dropkick, only for Funaki to sidestep it. And Sho follows up with a fisherman's buster and heads up top, but Taka avoids the elbow drop, while security arrives to lead Snow to the back. Michinoku then flies off the top with a missile drop kick to the back of Funaki before delivering the Michinoku driver for the pin and the win. JR then sends it to the back where Paul Bearer and Kane are waiting to be interviewed, asking how confident they are about tonight's match, with Bearer responding that his son has beaten The Undertaker before, and this time, with all the gold on the line, this time, my son will be WWF champion, as we head to commercial. Yeah, the match is just the number one contenders, Paul, not the belts on the line.
Been a while. He's out of practice in that championship hunt.
We come back to Al Snow in the parking lot, where he's griping with Head about the different situations he's been in the last couple of shows. We then go back to our commentators, where Mr. McMahon has joined them for the last couple matches. And the Chiron even said, Mr. McMahon.
Nice.
So we get our 7th match. World's Strongest Man, Mark Henry, versus Terry Funk.
Oh, shit.
In a King of the Ring qualifying match.
Not Chainsaw Charlie.
Nope, he's no longer Chainsaw Charlie.
Thank
He
God.
never should have been.
Nope.
So Vince mocks Foley and even repeats the firing as the match begins, where Terry gets the early advantage with chops and a neckbreaker for a 2 count. Funk tries for another, but he instead mule kicks down low and works over Henry on the ropes, only for a reversed whip leading to Henry hitting a clothesline and an elbow drop. The World's Strongest Man then continues with turnbuckle smashes, kicking Terry out of the ring, where the two brawl at ringside, with Funk knocking Henry down and going up to the apron for a pump splash. But Marc catches and slams Terry's back into the ring post. Funk reverses a whip to send the World's Strongest Man into the steel steps, before grabbing a chair to bash over Henry's skull with a loud thud, which McMahon tells us is even louder inside your head.
Great shit, pal.
Terry then springboards off the second rope with a moonsault, which Mark doesn't do a great job of catching.
He sure doesn't.
Nails a lot of the railing.
Yeah, like he goes legs first.
Yeah, I think he it's like hip, thigh. Yeah,
he eats the steel.
Very, very little Marc.
But Henry does sell it.
It's a big target, too.
But Henry does sell it anyways.
And he shouldn't have, honestly.
Now back in the ring, Funk's hitting headbutts, but the world's strongest man responds with an avalanche attack that takes Terry down, followed by a big splash for a near fall. Henry continues with a body slam that gets a 2 count and a leg drop for another near fall. Marc then goes for a body slam, only for Funk to counter it into a roll-up for the pin. And no, the world's strongest man kicks out. Henry then retaliates with a powerbomb and another big splash for the pin. And the win. To advance to the King of the Ring tournament.
Yeah, that was a little better than I would have expected it being when it started. I was like, oh, they at least let Terry get a little bit on him. They didn't just disgrace Terry Funk by making it a complete squash.
Yeah,
it's nice when they do have respect for legends that did not make their name in the WWF.
I mean, I don't know if it's my biggest surprise of the night, but I actually thought Terry Funk would win the match.
Oh, I definitely did not think that, but I would have loved it.
Yeah, I saw them at least taking him to the next round.
Oh yeah, this was so much longer than I expected. I was like, damn, they're just gonna. It's like they're gonna just. He's just gonna.
That's part of what
Terry
made me
Funk
think
for
that
2
too.
minutes, and it's gonna bum me out.
With it going longer than I expected it to, that's when I even more so thought that they're gonna let Funk win this one, and he'll get eaten alive in the next one.
Because I think also if you looked at because they kept showing the tournament brackets, and I think if you look at it, like the winner of this match could face a fellow nation. Like Mark Henry could face a fellow nation member in the first round, and so I was just kind of like, would they put Funk over here so that way they don't have nation versus nation? But then later on, like it's not a match we'll see, but they actually have Triple H and X-Pac facing each other in the qualifying match. So it's like, why are we doing that?
Because when you have
Triple H has to defend the crown.
When you have a thin field of wrestlers, I mean
they got 16 of them there.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean like just in general, like how many more than 16 guys do they have that like feel like they should be in the King of the Ring? They don't have the deep roster that they go on to have at the moment. It feels like
Stone Cold is then shown making his way out of the back as we head to commercial.
Got a little Band-Aid on his head,
which is what Austin was doing. As when we return, he's made his way into the ring to pose with the belt and celebrate with the crowd. He then heads over to the commentary booth, taking a headset as well, and asking Vince if he loves him to give him a hell yeah. So we have a 4-man commentary booth for our main event, our 8th match.
Yep, the biggest face and the biggest heel in the company on either side.
Kane with Paul Bearer versus The Undertaker to become the #1 contender for the WWF Championship. And the brawl starts as soon as both men are in the ring, with the dead man hammering away, even scaring the ref out of the ring when he tries to get them out of the corner. Taker continues the corner splash before heading out to the floor to deck Bearer, only to return to the ring for Old School. And the Big Red Machine then catches Undertaker running the ropes with a choke slam and a falling fist, rocking him into a corner for a short arm clothesline. Kane then tosses the dead man to the floor and following out to run him into the ring post and railing. Now back inside, the two continue to trade strikes, only for the Big Red Machine to knee Taker before hitting several turnbuckle smashes as Austin and McMahon are arguing on commentary. Undertaker begins to fire up with a series of right hands, but another knee allows Kane to deliver a scoop slam and a falling fist. Our two competitors continue to exchange strikes when the Big Red Machine runs into a big boot, only for the dead man to run into one as well. Boot for boot. Kane then goes for an elbow drop, which Taker avoids, and we're back to a slugfest when he ducks a clothesline and nails a chokeslam. And Undertaker continues with a side Russian leg sweep and a leg drop for the pin. And no, the Big Red Machine kicks out. Kane then reverses a whip to boomerang the dead man into a corner, which takes out the ref.
Ref bump.
Allowing the Big Red Machine to go for the tombstone. But Taker wiggles out the back and reverses into one of his own. Only for Mike Chioda to still be out.
Nailed it.
All of a sudden, Mankind runs down to the apron.
Yep.
With Undertaker walking right into the mandible claw. Vince having a gleam in his eye, reminding us all that he fired him. And that he doesn't know what he's doing out here.
Oh, silly McMahon, you fired Dude Love.
The dead man escapes with a hot shot of Foley across the ropes before clotheslining Kane back down. But the Big Red Machine sits up. And Mankind gets on the apron again. So Taker knocks him back down. But the distraction allows Kane to get Undertaker up to nail the Tombstone Piledriver for the pin. And the win.
Pretty slow count, too.
Post-match, Stone Cold asks Vince if he enjoyed that, as the mischievous grin is still on the boss's face, with the response of, "Not as much as I'm gonna enjoy Kane beating your ass at the King of the Ring." And the Big Red Machine climbs over the ropes to stare down Austin before setting his pyro off and leaving to the back.
I found it very funny seeing Kane do the belt motion.
Yes, and Vince having to do the
a kick out of it.
Explanation of, yeah, that's where the belt goes.
But yeah, just Kane doing it is very, very funny. I do miss this, though. I think it's earlier in the show, a backstage segment or whatever, but the zoom in on the one blue eye of Kane. It's so good. I mean, eventually I think he just gets tired of wearing the contact, but early Kane, still one of the best ring gear gimmicks ever.
The dead man also climbs out of the ring and he begins to brawl with Foley around ringside. As McMahon says, he may have changed his mind about the firing.
Though he's sold it so well when Foley attacks The Undertaker, there's just a glee on his face. It's overjoyed.
Mankind then sets up for a piledriver, but Taker counters it into a back body drop. While JR says his goodbyes, and we fade to black. So I ask you, gentlemen, what are your overall thoughts of WWF Monday Night Raw from June 1st, 1998?
Not a difficult watch. Lots of story stuff going on, but there was a lot of wrestling, and I'm kind of impressed they fit so much into 2-hour TV block. They really packed everything in, but it didn't feel rushed.
Yeah, nothing felt rushed.
Yeah.
Nothing dragged.
No.
Yeah,
It's
I agree.
Also, feels like that Raw is we are winning, and we have to keep winning, so we have to make sure that we have the better show. It feels like they're in fight mode. It's like a competition.
What it is.
Yeah, it's a competition, but they finally started to pull ahead, and they know that they need to continue to be the better show. So feels like there's a lot of effort, especially with your mid card and top of the card, because of course they still have a thinner roster. We're still building up. We're gonna see. At one point we're gonna have the biggest mid card of all time, but right now, we have Taka, Michinoku, and Kaientai.
Yeah, I mean, along those same lines there, lots of fun stuff happening on here and lots of storyline movements, little seeds being planted. I had fun with this. There was, like you had said, there's way more packed into this episode than I was expecting there to be.
It feels like as dense as the pay-per-view that was a full hour
longer.
Yeah.
Yep.
An hour 15 minutes longer, because this is only an hour and a half.
Yeah, where the pay-per-view had a lot of stuff that didn't really need to be there. This one had everything I wanted and some stuff I didn't know I wanted.
Well, I mean, the qualifying matches help too, because they're not too long, but they still are competitive wrestling matches.
Wrestling matches. They're meaningful.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't know exactly which way they're going to go with them, whereas now you know who's going to win before the first match even takes place.
And this is how WWF is feeling themselves so hard and know what they have, that they put Kane over the Undertaker on Monday Night Raw the night after a pay-per-view. Because it's like, oh, well, we have 16,000 people here, and we just got to keep it moving, and like, who's not going to want to watch the rerun if they heard that?
Yep. One of the little things that I noticed in this one, I don't know if it was a planted sign or if it just happened to be there, but there was a sign in the audience that just said Undertaker, Lord of the Darkness, and that's just like the foreshadowing moment of everything that's about to come. So yeah, one of the many seeds on this episode that were planted.
But did you see the sign that said "Smoke Bongs"? Because I did. I thought it was cool.
I was probably sparking up something else at that time. Yeah. So,
I mean, I think we're all same page. This is a tremendous episode, just super fun.
It's nonstop.
Storylines get furthered. Like we said, the King of the Ring stuff actually helps. The elimination match I thought was really good.
I thought so too, yeah.
That match is 10 minutes long.
Yeah. My initial thought when that started was, why are we doing this again? But then they changed it.
I mean, it was a little bit different than the night before, but...
Yep, it was more fun, I think.
I mean, literally, the only thing on this episode that like I kind of was like, about was the opening street fight, because it was just like, what's the point of this? But then the Undertaker comes down, and I was just like...
Whatever.
Okay, cool.
There's our point.
Yeah. It's like, we know. It's like, oh, well, this will be a neat visual, and the Undertaker will walk in and hit a couple of guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that his focus was on punching old Chainz.
And Droz.
Chainz and Droz? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I just saw him hit Chainz, and then Chainz was rolling on
the
rack.
It may have just been Chainz and not Droz.
I laughed at that because it was like, oh, we meet again.
I'm like, the Road Warriors were laid out. That's the only thing that matters, because the Undertaker didn't mess with them.
Yeah, the another thing is that the talking segments were like the right amount of time. Mm-hmm. They didn't drag too long before any action. They like didn't do everything all at once. They like peppered it through, so the show just felt like it kept moving. It wasn't a 10 minutes of Eric Bischoff in the ring. Also, you have Vince McMahon, who is going to outperform him character-wise with, in his sleep. So it's way more compelling either way.
Good. Where's the smart marks at? There. All right, fuck you.
I think it's time we smark it up. So what are some of the best moments of this show?
Terry Funk did a moonsault. Marc Mero did a shooting star press.
Yeah.
There's some big there were some legitimately really good and fun spots in the ring that we sometimes they just had a match. Like, they're putting in more work in the ring on television than they have in the past.
I'm just thinking about it. I'm like, is this kind of the first time we've seen Undertaker really do a promo by himself?
I mean, he's like I said, he's human now. He's the more
done
human of the two.
Scary stuff at one point, but
no, he's just talking like a guy.
But
I'm trying to remember during the startup of the Kane feud if there was.
I don't know if we've seen anything.
Yeah, but he's definitely the most human I think he's been since when he came into the company.
But Vince McMahon's reaction, his part of the Dude Love promo, his part of the Undertaker promo.
He's stealing the show left and right.
His time on the commentary booth.
Oh yeah, his comments with Austin back and forth on the commentary booth were hilarious.
And that gleam in his eye when Mankind comes out. It sold it perfectly.
You're going to say that on the microphone that I paid for?
Yeah, he's on fire. And like I said, it gets to a point where sometimes his reactions get too big, but it's okay because we're already indoctrinated. But he's doing a good job of just slowly ramping it up.
Oh yeah,
he's on point.
This is the Bischoff that we hoped we would get, and not the.
This is something entirely different. But yeah,
whatever the fuck you want to call him over on Nitro.
Rock bottom.
Yeah. Surprising.
Rock bottom. Triple H spitting water. Jacqueline?
Yeah, Jackie was probably the biggest surprise.
I just stopped myself and wait, is it Jackie or Jacqueline? It's Jacqueline.
Yeah,
it's Jacqueline.
Yeah. Outside of...
she's classy now.
Terry Funk losing.
Well, Terry Funk showing up. I thought Terry Funk was gonna lose, but I was, and it's one of those things where it's like, well, Jacqueline's a bigger surprise because Terry Funk has been working over here. But for some reason, every time he shows up, I'm like, oh, Terry. And it was nice that they gave him his name back.
How about most disappointing? I mean, I mentioned it, the Chicago Street Fight, but then at the same time, like, I get what they were trying to do.
Yeah. It was a fun enough visual for the
3 minutes that we had it on the screen.
Yeah, it was basically the cold open of the show.
I mean, whatever your opinion of Val Venis is will depend on, like, will determine if you care or not that he was on your screen. Like,
I mean, I don't know. I always liked him.
I always liked him.
Yeah. I don't dislike him, but
I mean, yeah.
He just hasn't done anything that is noteworthy yet for me.
But he's good in the ring. He has a great look, and he fits the Attitude Era just about as good as anybody could.
Yep. There's not a whole lot disappointing on this show.
We tried to only watch the
I'm like
good
scrolling
ones.
through here, but there's nothing jumping out of, oh yeah, that sucked. No.
My biggest, I guess, disappointing. Or were we on surprise?
Disappointing. I mean, we kind of jumped all over there with surprise. I think we've all mentioned a surprise that we liked.
Yeah. Well, Jacqueline and then the other one, of course. I'll save it for when you say, let's move on.
Well, let's move on to Best Performer of the Night.
Oh, Best Performer.
I gotta give it to Vinny.
It's Vince McMahon again.
Like I said, he's just on. Yeah. He's completely firing on all cylinders.
Vince or Taker.
You can tell that he knows what he has too. So he's like, there's nothing sloppy about this.
And then, most surprising,
the Edge package, because I didn't know he came in without.
True.
I didn't know he didn't come in as a vampire. I thought the vampire came in first, and then those two guys worked with him, and by the vampire I mean Gangrel. But yeah, seeing an Edge, and it's like, oh, they're kind of trying to make him like a less sad boy Raven, is what the package feels like.
Yeah.
Here's a question. I mean, obviously, we all know what Undertaker's next match is at the pay-per-view because it's one of the most famous matches of all time.
Okay, that's what I was trying to remember. If that was the match that they have next, or if that was,
I believe it
comes
is.
Along. Okay,
but
I know it's this year, but
was Kane beating Taker a surprise?
Absolutely, but it kind of had to happen.
Yeah,
it was the right thing to do.
It's too soon for Taker in Austin,
but it was a surprise.
It's two faces. I don't think you can go to two faces at King of the Ring.
No.
So no, it's not. I guess. Yeah, it's at King of the Ring, isn't it?
See, that's what I'm trying to remember. If that's where they have if that's where the cell shows up, or if it's a different show.
I swear it is. I feel like such a dummy right now.
Yeah, me too. Because nobody calls it it's known as the Hell in a Cell match. It's not known as the Hell in a Cell match from that King of the Ring.
Yeah, but that's Hell in a Cells. That's how they started out. They were just on random shows until they became their own gimmick show.
I mean, that's the match that turns it into.
It is a King of the Ring.
I was right.
Okay, cool. I was right. So yeah, no, I knew that match was coming.
Yeah.
But if I first I went back to 1998 and in my head I have no clue that that's a thing.
Yeah.
I'm like, Kane and Undertaker facing each other. I am never thinking that Kane is winning this match.
No, I mean, not at all. It's it was the right thing to do, and they did it on television. And how many more people were, if you watch this as when it aired,
mm-hmm.
you probably fucking yelled and pumped your fist, or you were pissed, whatever. You had an audible reaction, because that's
mm-hmm.
a huge thing to do on TV.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not just Hogan re-winning the belt on television for the millionth time. This actually means something.
Undertaker just went out there and gave this heartfelt promo.
And Vince called his mom a slut.
Yeah.
Oh, horror.
Horror, yeah. And Paul Bear's his not-so-stepdad.
Uncle Paul.
Making their way to the ring.
It's trivia time.
Wow.
This week, the category is TikTok.
Tick-tock on the clock, but the party don't stop. No.
So I'm going to give you a match from a show we watched.
Oh, yeah.
You give me how long that match was. Closest gets 5 points. It's not Price is Right rules, so I'll take equal sides.
Yeah.
Since it's a time thing. But we're going to go back to In Your House 5.
Shit.
And the match is Undertaker with Paul Bearer versus King Mabel with Sir Mo in a casket match. How long was that match?
My guess is too long. I'm going to type it in.
Does the time on the match start from when like the entrances go?
I don't know.
Whatever to them cake. I assume it's bell.
We'll go for that.
I
Cat.
think it's probably bell to bell.
All right, Michael. Your answer is
Probably too long, but this is a casket match, so it was probably too long. 13 minutes and 22 seconds.
13 minutes, 22 seconds. Shane?
I went shorter than that.
You're probably right.
9:58.
9:58. Shane gets 5 points.
What was it?
As the length of the match was 6 minutes and 11 seconds.
In a casket match?
In a casket
I know
match.
Mabel was the total shits, but
Yeah.
that's crazy. They did a casket match in 6 minutes.
Yep.
I figured this must have been just hell to watch.
Which In Your House was this? What was the name? Do you remember?
It was In Your House 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if it had a subtitle technically.
That's right. I guess those first ones did just have.
Seasons Beatings is what they gave it after the fact.
Bret Hitman Hart battle his brother-in-law British Bulldog for the WWF Championship.
6 minutes. Thanks for coming, Mabel.
Yep.
What an experiment that didn't pan out. They bothered with bringing a casket out for a 6-minute match.
Yeah, it's probably as long as Mabel could go.
Yeah, absolutely. That's funny stuff. That's one of my favorite games. I don't know why. Even though I did poorly this time.
Next week, Best of the Super Juniors 5.
Bum, bum, bum. I mean,
Go back to Japan, eh?
we love these
been a
shows.
while.
It's going to be
We
fun.
love going to Japan.
And this is going to be the little guys, the flippy guys.
That's
We've seen
right.
some of our favorite matches on these Best of Super Junior shows.
Yep.
And I imagine...
I'm curious what new. Well, I was gonna say new faces or masks or
yeah,
whoever we're
new
gonna
faces,
get.
new masks. Names we've probably never heard of, maybe.
There'd be a few.
Who's
Yeah.
gonna show up from WCW? Are we gonna get any WWE guys now that they've got a little Kaientai?
Trying to
In
think,
their
is there
life.
any... I don't think there's any outsiders.
Okay.
It's all Japanese gentlemen.
It's more fun that way.
Music from this week's show
Probably some
is...
Hispanic men as well. Probably some luchadors.
There is
Yeah.
a few luchadors.
You gotta have them in Best of Super Juniors.
Music from this week's show is We're All in This Together by Jim Johnston. And Kane won our main event, so we play Burned, also by Jim Johnston.
And all I can suddenly think of is High School Musical. We're all in this together. Oh, no, that's not the right song.
Nope, sure isn't.
Nope.
I mean, you could have fooled me.
And if you like this episode or any of our other ones, please go out there, rate and review us on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you find your podcasts at. If you're watching, listening, whatever you're doing on YouTube, hit that bell,
That's right.
like, subscribe.
Tell a friend. Share it on your Facebook page.
Facebook.
Tweet her about it. No.
Whatever.
Something.
Do something.
Spread the word.
Exactly. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns,
We are going to Japan next. I don't know if I'm going to be able to recreate any Japanese dishes as easily as a Chicago-style pizza. So if you have any ideas of stuff that I should buy or order or beverages that are ones that I should make, any suggestions would be greatly appreciated. Slide into our DMs, give us a shout out, something, send us an email. Yeah, it's been a while since we've been to Japan, so give me some ideas.
and you can always do that on our email at wrestlinghistoryx@gmail.com or find us on X at WrestlingHistoX. That's Wrestling HISTO X. We'll talk to you next week.
Later.